history most people aren't aware of. It was either the son or the grandson of Francis Scott Key, who wrote the national anthem, was actually imprisoned in Fort McHenry and looked out the window, imprisoned the Lincoln administration without charges, and actually looked out the window and saw a flag flying in the very spot that it was either his father or grandfather had seen the British firing. And wrote the national anthem. So there's been tyranny before in America, but you also had a population that still by and large was moral and it could be checked. The dangerous part about today is our society the moral fabric is broken. And so we have the potential of not only repeating history, but doing it in a way where the end is not like the Civil War. The end of the Civil War actually was reconciliation. And a lot of those statues they want to tear down give testimony not to the division, but to the reconciliation. Because the evil one doesn't want reconciliation. He likes death and destruction and bloodshed. And the powers that be want to tear this nation apart. They want people to kill each other, and they don't want reconciliation. And so what we're going to get is not going to have the reconciliation at the end of the Civil War. What we're going to get is the end of a country that turns its back on God. And that history teaches those things are not very pretty.
Anything you want to say, Gabe, before you go?
Thanks for having us on. I really appreciate the opportunity to share some things and share our hearts on some things. I know everybody listening may or may not agree in terms of what we've shared in our biblical beliefs, but I think that there's a common thread here that I think we could all agree, Christian or not, that we're under attack as a nation right now, and that we need to do something about that. And Jesse and I are happy to do our part to help lead that charge, and we're looking forward to kind of seeing how these things end up down the road. I've got a lot of other pending court cases similar to this one right now that we're dealing with. And so we're just interested to see how these things pan out, how they can be used to hold tyrants accountable to their actions. So
Yes.
Things like this, being able to get online and speak and to let people hear our stories is important for us to be able to do that. And so I appreciate the platform.
Yes, of course. And we'll see you Sunday night. We only have an hour Sunday night, so we have to be very, very concise with what we say. But Jesse, you opened a Pandora's box for me now about the Civil War. So I want to delve into that, but we're running out of time and you're probably exhausted.
Well,
I want to talk about the Civil War in the future, because your notion, your information about history is so good and it's so controversial that the America Happens channel is the perfect network to talk about it. I've never met someone who knew as much about the Civil War as you. So now you've opened a whole new category.
Corinne, my ancestors on my mother's side came to America 400 years ago. Not long after.
I want to delve into this.
Not long after the founding of Jamestown, there was a great Revolutionary War general by the name of Nathaniel Greene. He's an ancestor of mine. My great-great-great-grandfather wore the gray, and he didn't own any slaves. He was a poor farmer that loved God. And one of the last things on earth he did before he died in the early 1900s was to give a large sum of money to build a church in Granville County, North Carolina. And that little Dexter Baptist church still stands today. So I'm a proud descendant of a Confederate veteran who loved Jesus.
I want to talk about this because this topic I've never been able to delve into, because I never meet anyone that will really go into it. But I know you're exhausted, Gabriel, so I'll let you go. Do you need to go?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be hitting the road soon. But I appreciate y'all. Thank you,
Gabriel. God bless you. Peace. See you soon. Okay, so Jesse, I have another guest coming on, but I wanted to know, should we talk about the Civil War, or is it getting too late?
I love history. I'm of the opinion that fools judge history. Wise men learn from it. And I think that period of time in our history ought to be a warning to us. It ought to be an alarm bell that says if we don't turn back to God, we're going to repeat that.
I want to know the specifics of the Civil War, but let's do this another time when you have more energy and time.
Well, let me leave you with this.
Okay, I want to know about
Corinne,
the
this is a
Civil
great
War, because
story.
you're saying really serious stuff about the Civil War.
The next time I'm trying to learn how to say this and be as polite and not crude, but don't get so upset. Someone should not get so upset the next time they have a terrible, terrible stomach bug, because the Lord might just be using it to save your life. My great, great, great grandfather was in the Army of Northern Virginia, and they were marching to Gettysburg, and he came down with a terrible bout of dysentery. I mean, that's like diarrhea on steroids. And he became so sick that he ended up having to go into the hospital. And he missed the Battle of Gettysburg. His North Carolina 55th Regiment is the regiment that made it to the stone wall at the end of Pickett's charge, and it was chopped to pieces, slaughtered to pieces. Had my great-great-great-grandfather marched at Gettysburg, I wouldn't be here today. But because of a bad, terrible bout of diarrhea, I'm alive today. So you never know. You never know what kind of sickness might be saving you from that destruction.
We need to stand up and I can't even say what I was going to say, but the bottom line is that in the end, maybe God has a calling on you because of your genealogy, because you're a brave man.
I'm just I'm an unprofitable servant. Jesus must increase. I must decrease.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bring on a new set of guests because this story that they have is so intense. It starts in Canada and goes to the United States of America. But I really want to talk about the Civil War with you one time when you have the time. So you tell me when you have time to come back on, because I want to get into the Civil War.
I appreciate you having me, Corinne. I certainly don't want to take away from what's coming. So thanks for caring about it.
You can stay on. You want to stay on if you have time. You can stay on because
it's getting really late intense here.
Okay.
And
well, just keep in touch with me. Okay. God bless you. Peace. I'll see you on Sunday.
You too. Thank you for caring.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank
you. You too.
Grateful. It's one of my new favorite people. Okay, so I'm going to bring right now. Let me just see. I'm going to bring in Dale Richardson and his beautiful daughter. And whoops, I did this wrong. Okay, I brought Jesse back, and I'm bringing in Dale Richardson and his beautiful daughter, Keisha, and I'm going to let them talk uncensored about what they've really been through. Okay, you guys, we have 45 minutes. Go for it. I want to know in chronological order what is going on here, and be concise because people do get bored if you aren't really to the point. What is going on in Canada and what's going on in America? Go for it.
Okay, I'll kind of just go through it really quickly on a rundown. Started off in the spring of 2020 when I was contracted to go in and look at some dental clinics. I found out that the guidelines that were given that were supposed to mitigate disease didn't actually do that. It actually spread disease. So then I started to get, ask questions, got pushed back, continued to ask more questions because I'm like, somebody could get killed. Then I went ahead and continued to reported it to the RCMP. My daughter reported it over to her union. I mean, if you want to talk about what happened when you reported it to the union, you can do that, and then I'll kind of pick it up from there.
Go for it.
Oh, you read it.
Oh, sorry, I just had to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, so I reported the research to my work. I filed official OHS complaints, which, like I mentioned earlier, is the same as OSHA laws in the United States, and instantly got pushback from my employer and the union. They didn't really do anything about it. I ended up getting threatened with self-isolation, and that's pretty much what happened just after I reported it.
Yeah, didn't you ended up, what happened when I guess when you had some meetings, the union didn't do anything. I ended up reporting it to the police July 3rd of 2020. This is just the high points. Once that happened, I got served documents for an emergency hearing for a family matter after I went to the police. I also ended up having to go to court. and file a court hearing because they got shut of the detachment. They wouldn't take any more evidence, and so I went to sue them. And so we had 2 court cases on July 23rd of 2020. Previously, the day before, the RCMP came to my house, wanted to talk, and this is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Same guys that reported the crime to, with some public health agents and so forth, who said that they wanted to talk to my daughter because she got contact traced. I wouldn't let them come, wouldn't bring her to the door, shut the door, locked it. They left. Then we went to court the next day. I straight up got arrested. In case she got ragdolled. There was a video that I sent her. I don't know if you have that, if you can pull that up. Watch this get arrested in case she got ragdolled, dragged away.
You got arrested and you have the video? Where's the video?
I put it in the private chat. I think you can.
Okay. I don't know how to bring it into this because I don't have my producer tonight.
Oh, okay. Well.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, do you have this? Does the share screen work? Can I do that?
Yeah, try the share screen. Is it working?
Let me get this pulled up here. Let me pull this up here on this. And then I can show people what the video of what happened, and they can see it. And this is how they this is the Canadian treatment on how they like to do things. So this is on my let me just get this up here. Okay, so here we go. Let me get the share screen here. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Can you see that?
Let's see. Oh, that's great. Okay, I love that you can do this. Okay, the share screen. Okay, let's watch this.
What is the reason for the arrest? What is the reason? What is the reason for the arrest? What is the reason for the arrest?
This is an
What
unlawful
is the
arrest.
reason for the
Pursuant to
arrest?
269.1.
What is the reason for
I've already
the
applied to
What is the reason? What is the reason?
Do not touch it.
What is
Do
the
not
reason
touch
for
it.
the arrest?
You see this wickedness?
What is the reason?
God
What
is
is
going
the
to judge you
reason for
today.
the arrest?
You will not live. Father in heaven, I ask of you this day, pour your spirit upon your children. Tomorrow I ask of you this day to slay the servants of Baal.
What is
not
the
allow them
reason?
to touch her.
What is the reason? What is the reason?
I ask of you this day.
What is the reason? You did not state the reason for the arrest.
Tell me the law.
What is the reason?
Give me your arm. Give me your arm now. Give me your arm.
What is the reason? Stop!
We'll explain it to
Stop!
You're resisting arrest and
No, what is the reason for the arrest?
the public health orders.
No, that's not what it says. That's not what it says. That is not what the public order says. I'm not required to go with you.
Okay,
Sit down.
get up.
I'm not required to go with you.
Get in the vehicle.
You have my backpack on. How am I supposed to sit down?
Lift your feet up. Lift your feet up.
What about the court hearing?
You guys are not supposed to be here for the court hearing. It's a telephone hearing.
No, it's
No,
not.
it isn't.
Yes, it is.
That's not what's listed.
It's not.
That's not what's listed.
It's not a telephone hearing, sir.
She's not even supposed
Lift
to
your
be
feet up. She's not supposed to be in public.
It's
That's not
notarized.
what it says. It
It
says
says-
that I can wear a mask.
It says that you can wear a mask.
Pulling me.
Yes, because you're arrested.
It says that you can go to things that are necessary. Isn't court necessary, though?
Those are my glasses.
You need to back up.
Oh,
You're
sorry.
gonna get arrested.
You can videotape it. Just say the thing.
What about the court hearing?
My agent to take my corporate property. Hey, no, give my corporate property to my agent.
Sure, I'll give it to
Not your agent. Let it go. Give it straight to the agent.
Agent, please.
The agent. Not you, the agent.
Thank you, sir.
Now, let you know now,
Put your hands behind your
this
back.
is the declaration. And the keys go to my agent.
Oh.
The keys go to my agent.
Keys?
Let him go to his hands. You see? This is... No, you will not touch them. They go straight to my agent. They're going straight to my agent.
Okay.
You see?
He's right there. Give
You see?
Oh, there's another key?
Okay. No. You see, take my business phone, not you.
Oh.
My business phone.
No, I'll grab it. I'll make sure that he's comfortable.
Federal corporation.
Take the business phone, sir. Thank you.
This is... Okay. Okay.
Are there any other belongings?
Those are the corporate property.
Yeah.
You can go to
Is there
them.
anything else?
Oh,
that he
careful.
needs?
Wait, I need that other one.
You gotta wait.
Can I,
You have to wait a second.
I need that other one, sir.
We're not trying to listen.
No.
That's the
You have
corporate.
to show me this warrant. Show me this warrant. Show me. That's not corporate property. That's corporate property. Show me the warrant.
I need that
Show me the
USB.
warrant. Before I go anywhere. Show me the warrant. No, show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. No. No. Show me the warrant first. Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. It's illegal.
I'm gonna go here. Sorry.
Yeah, go. This is illegal. This is illegal. This is illegal. Look at this illegal activity.
Hey, just get in the vehicle.
No! Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. Where's the warrant? No, you get in. Father in heaven, I pray of you, send your angels to help. Send your Holy Spirit. Send your angels.
Oh, there he assaults me. There you go.
Stop this illegal activity. Stop this illegal activity.
Oh, there you go. There he goes again.
This is illegal.
That's pretty much. So, at that arrest there, which is like completely unlawful. The guy that was filming it, his name is Robert Cannon. I met him.
His name
through
is
church.
Robert what?
Cannon.
Okay,
When I was
where
strapped,
did that happen? What country?
this
what
is in
state? What date?
North Battleford, Saskatchewan. This is July 23rd, about 9:50 in the morning before I was going to court. They were the defendants. You see that little bald guy that was walking up and putting on his mask? He was there that actually got served the documents and knew that there was a court hearing that they were supposed to be at. So this guy he knows what they're doing is wrong. Secondly, there was a court sheriff that was there that participated in the arrest. Right? There was 2 court hearings that day that went ahead, and there was no mention of any arrest in any of them. And one of them, there was actually not even a real order. It was copy and pasted, which I didn't get till much later, and that was what was gone on with the COVID issue. So I don't even know what was going on. And then the same judge presided over both matters, and I actually got a Freedom of Information request. And the court directed the RCMP to keep me out of court. So that right there is judicial interference. That's way off base. And so on the family matter with that emergency order, while they had taken me away and had me strapped to a bed and drugged against my will and interrogating me, judge was handing over my daughter, the house that I was living in, corporate records, everything else like that on that day. You can't do that. You can't torture 2 people to hand over a kid. I don't care if you're a judge. It's called human trafficking. And so that guy, Robert Cannon, while I was strapped to a bed and after my daughter got out after being interrogated at her workplace at the Saskatchewan hospital, that guy sexually assaulted my daughter, took her out to Alberta and sexually assaulted her, right? While I was getting strapped to a bed and drugged against my will, right? And so after that, I ended up getting out. My daughter can talk about what happened to her when they took her away. You want to do that quickly? When they took you to the hospital, your workplace?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I worked in a maximum security prison and hospital for the criminally and mentally insane. It's a provincial government facility, and I was interrogated for many hours by 6 or 7 male officers rotating in and out, and then eventually taken to my facility that I worked at. They held me on the prison end of the facility and emptied an entire wing of the facility, and I was put in a small room for 23 hours a day. Wasn't clothed properly, wasn't able to call anyone in my family and tell them what was going on. They didn't feed me properly, didn't give me very much water. So anyways, when I was eventually released, they told me that I didn't have a home to go back to. My car was stolen, and my sister was taken, and I didn't really have anything. And like my dad said, once I was let out, Robert Cannon, he took me to the middle of nowhere, Alberta, and sexually assaulted me multiple times. And this was while my dad was being drugged in the facility they were holding him at, strapped him to a table, drugged him against his will for 3.5 weeks or so. Eventually, when my dad got out, he was like, "You're Native American, American Indian. You can go to the U.S. and I'll deal with this over here." And so I ended up making my way to the U.S. or whatever.
So while I was in that facility, I was getting drugged with God knows what. Whatever they did put on the chart, even my mother, who was a nurse, she asked them, "What are you trying to do? Kill my son?" Right? And she had to ask them, "What are you doing? What are you giving this drug for?" And they gave me some stuff that I don't even know what it was. But all I know is I started to lose bladder control and function, and so forth, was unsteady on my feet and everything else from the drugs they were giving me. And by the time I ended up getting out of there, because my mom took pictures of the bed, while I was there, actually, they called the RCMP again, and the nurse actually put it in the notes that she thought my mom took pictures of the bed. So they called the RCMP again to strap me to bed and drug me against my will. Well, when you do something like that, because you think somebody else did something, well, that's called torture again, too. So then they ended up realizing that there were pictures, and then they ended up moving me out of there, and eventually I got out. But it took me a long time to recover from whatever those drugs were. I didn't realize that this guy, this Robert Cannon, who now lives in Austin, Texas, was there raping my kid while I was strapped to a bed. So didn't find out till much later. But when my daughter went across on October 1st of 2020, with this guy, she got arrested at the border rather than letting her cross with this information. And DHS, through ICE and CBP, had this information about the delivery system for the biological weapons, and so she got taken into the across. I mean, all the way down to Nevada, eventually, and went through that situation. So, if you want to quickly, briefly go over, what happened to you over there.
Yeah, so on October 1st, I went to Montana Sweetgrass Port of Entry, and I brought my native tribal card, tribal citizenship card, my driver's license, birth certificate, the long and short form birth certificate, Canadian passport, all valid. The border agents unlawfully apprehended me and took me down to Nevada. They actually first drove me to the Arizona-Mexico border. I didn't end up going across, by God's grace. They drove me backwards to Pahrump, Nevada, but they deported the people, the Hispanic people, I guess, that they had traveling with me. I was in the detention for about 7 months. They forced me into an asylum proceeding, an immigration case. And my dad began to hound the Canadian consulate to confirm my status as an Indian and out of California. And they ended up doing that. They wrote a letter on March 18th, 2021. And on March 31st, 2021, I was released by immigration. They did not release me on my own recognizance, though. they forced me into some sort of American supervisor program where I had to live with single American men. I was on full surveillance tracking system. I couldn't leave the house or live with anyone they didn't approve me to live with. I could only leave my house when I was approved to at certain times of the day. Couldn't leave the city or the state without permission. If I didn't follow any of the rules that they gave me or the rules of the person I was forced to live with, I could be redetained and deported. I was only allowed to work when I was given permission to work. And those men ended up sexually assaulting me, drugging me, holding me at gunpoint, beating me repeatedly in multiple states. And I didn't receive any help from what happened either, any protection from law enforcement or assistance.
So while this is going on, I was in Canada and I was fighting court cases to try to get my house back, to get my little daughter, and all of these things while I'm still drugged and recovering from these drugs. Actually, one judge told me that it would be too prejudicial to my ex-wife to extend the time for the appeal period, and that being strapped to a bed and drugged against my will was not a justified reason for them to do that, and so said that I couldn't extend the time to appeal, even though I was being tortured, and I provided evidence of this and so forth. And so, no matter what I did, like I demonstrated that there was perjury and all of these things, and the judge didn't care. So then I went to start suing in the Federal Court of Canada, which is where you would sue the RCMP because they're a federal police force, and that's how they do it in Canada. Except the judge lied and said there was no jurisdiction for them to do so, even though it explicitly talks about that in the Crown Liabilities Act in Canada. But he took advantage of the fact that I was still recovering from the drugs and not quite as sharp at the time. And he did the work of the lawyers, and I had the Association for Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Saskatchewan in the court, and part of that was because of the delivery system for the biological weapons. The judge's name was Robert Barnes, and he is a criminal, and so he said that the case was frivolous and vexatious when I said that based on these engineering controls, people are getting killed and you're spreading a disease, and that's treason, right? And then the lawyer for the credit union where my ex-wife worked, where they were involved in contract breaches and other things, and other criminal activity as well with the RCMP, which I got in an email that demonstrated they were communicating to violate a lot of rights and crimes in suppressing this information with the RCMP. And so they were there involved, the money and the engineering was responsible for that. So now while that's happening, I'm fighting all of these court cases on a federal and a provincial level while I'm trying, like, still in the influence of these mind altering drugs and trying to worry about what's going on with my daughter, worrying about having the government still coming to get me. And so eventually I get the Canadian consulate pressured to get her Indian card, because when they concealed her identity documents and they transported her across state lines, knowing that she had the right of entry as an Indian, ICE was engaged in human trafficking. You can't do that. That's explicitly in the Title 18 laws. And so now they're responsible, but instead of just letting her outright, they put her in that program. They created the circumstances for her to be in this position. And this was done to benefit the Biden administration 100%. And now you got collaboration between both sides of the border, because Canada should have been on them like flies on rice. But Canada has definitely a history of torturing their citizens abroad, right? You can look all over the world and you'll find Canadians being tortured in many countries. And so this should have never happened. And so after Keisha ended up having the gun pulled on her, she had the FBI actually direct her to go back to Texas. right? And so she ends up going to Texas. Well, what happens? Buddy tries to sexually assault her again, and this is where I find out about it, and I'm like, "You're done." I told him, like, you stay away from my daughter. I told her to call the police, and she can kind of tell you what happened when the police were called. In case you want to touch on that. If
Oh, we
so,
lost her. We lost her. Your
what?
story is so intense. Just cut to the chase.
Oh, okay.
Did any lawyer ever help you?
Okay, so no, and so she ended up having the place that she was staying was called the Texas and Vintage, and they wouldn't. She said she's in the waiting room now.
Okay.
They wouldn't cut the keys because he had a key card to her get access to her place. I'm like, cut the key. They wouldn't do it. So I told her, I said, leave. You're not going to let a rapist come in and have access to the place. I'm like, just get out of here. So she goes to Florida. So we filed criminal complaints in Canada, and they said go into law enforcement and get this thing filed so that they could come in and put warrants out and they could bring him back to Canada. So we did. Talked to a constable, Sig Vaults, and at the Turner Valley RCMP here in Alberta. So Keisha goes into Volusia County, where Sheriff Chitwood is the sheriff in Volusia County, and she goes in and she reports the rape, right? And gives a statement, does body cam, and brings some evidence, and said this is the reason why he's been doing this, because he's been working against this. And so when that happened, the sheriff did not send the information, didn't send the interview notes, did not send the body cam footage, and did not send the documentation. He only sent the written statement. So then the RCMP said they can't proceed with the investigation without everything else that was there. In case you had a witness that was sitting there with her during this time. And like I have pictures from while they were in the interview room while it was happening. So this can also be produced. And so the sheriff's office didn't do the job. The RCMP didn't compel them to get their information. So you're watching them do these types of things so that a rapist can continue to walk free. And they're like, well, we can't do anything about it. And I'm like, and the timing of when they told me and informed me about this was much later on. But how this ended up happening initially in South Carolina is when I went across on April 26th, after I got served in the Federal Court of Canada, the evidence that the RCMP had a warrant for resist arrest on July 22nd of 2020 for the arrest that took place on July 23rd. So they said that that arrest that took place that you guys watched the day before, they said I resisted arrest for that arrest. And that's just impossible. My sister used to work for the RCMP. Straight up, that's crime. So when I ended up leaving, I got taken at the border in a similar fashion. I'm obviously not an Indian, but I had demonstrated that I was a director of a Delaware corporation, brought 6 volumes of evidence, like probably about 3,500 pages, documenting the torture, the treason, all the different crimes that were committed, all the different law enforcement, the attempts to complain, go to the courts, getting absolutely nowhere, no matter what's going on. And they're like, they told me to get rid of the evidence. I was like, no. They said get rid of the document saying you're a director of a Delaware corporation. I'm like, no. They're like, well, you got to go back to Canada. I said, no, I was tortured. And I said, I'm here to report treason. Well, they took me into custody and said that I was undocumented. Right after they had their hands on their firearms screaming at me. And after that happened, that same Robert guy went straight to South Carolina and he went and raped my daughter. That's how that started, that whole thing, when I was taken into custody. So when I was taken into custody, he went and raped her once. Got taken into custody of the United States, he goes and he rapes her again. And so while I'm getting torture in the state of Colorado, this is where all that stuff in South Carolina happens. And then the FBI directs them back to Texas, back to that same guy that was raping her, and there's probably good chance that they knew what was going on, right? So, and when I was getting tortured, they're blocking me from getting my information in the District Court of Colorado and so forth. Even filed at the Supreme Court under 21-1895, and for writ of certiorari after going to the Court of Appeals for writ of mandamus, because I filed under the Crime Victims' Rights Act. And so I've got a bunch of this stuff sitting there, and anybody can go and see a lot of these cases. And so after they hunted me back, they continued to have Keisha running around, because if she came back, what you saw there is on what happened there on July 23rd. They 23rd. So then after that, I made an attempt to come back to report the treason again. I can pull up and show you how I got arrested yet again.
Okay, so you got arrested another time. To this date, has any lawyer helped you in Canada? Have you had any justice in Canada?
Absolutely not.
No.
Have you?
Not a single one.
I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that. That's completely shocking. So you're just continuing on down the road and you're getting no response and no help in Canada at all?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Okay, so you have another video of another arrest you want to play?
Yes. This
Okay,
is
let's
after
do it.
the guy that I have there, he tells me, and I can show that little video clip after. But I'll show you this, where I got arrested after I went from Sweetgrass over to Coots. They kicked me out.
He cannot go by himself. Under the torture convention, he cannot. He's tortured.
Guys, back away. Sir, you stay there. I'm intending you. I'm reporting warrant for your arrest. For what?
No, and no. And no. No.
What's the outstanding warrant?
Yes. What's the outstanding warrant? I work for the RCMP. I work for the RCMP. So please tell me, what is the warrant?
We can get that, but right now.
Yeah, let's get it.
No, because they put it out the day before.
The day before. And I put to the Attorney General, letting them know that that is a force. I know.
No, they're not torturing you.
You're not gonna, no, you're not. It's not go, 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 go. It's not go, 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 go. It's not go, 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 go. Y'all is not going to do this. You stop. You're not taking my brother. You are not taking my brother. You are not. Get back. That's assault. That is 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 assault. That's my son. That is my son. And that is my brother. No, that is a false warrant. It is a false warrant. What are you arresting him for?
He has an
What
outstanding warrant.
is the warrant? Where's the warrant? Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant. Show me the warrant.
You need to
Show no. Please. No. Hey, why are you handling me? 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 Why? Wait.
Out of Saskatchewan.
No! That's a false warrant! It is a false warrant! It's a false warrant! It is a false warrant!
You need to step over here.
It is a false warrant!
Man,
My brother was tortured. Listen, my name is Astra.
Step over there.
My brother was tortured. They put him inside of a hospital and drugged him. Why? For what? Let me go, please. Let me go. No, you guys, listen to me. No, you can't tell me that. When the police took him, the RCP that I damn well worked for, I worked for them. Okay. And they took my brother illegally. A false warrant the day before? Is this precog? Is this the Minority Report? Come on now. I don't know the situation. Well, I'm telling you. This is what it is. And you're not listening. On Facebook, my God, go to YouTube. My brother put them out. He posted them out. They drugged them. My mother had to go get him with antipsychotic medication. No, is there a warrant? Yeah, there's a warrant. No, it's Saskatchewan. Because they want to take him back there to go and kill him off. Oh my God. I don't know about No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you guys. I am telling you guys. It's the truth. What are we gonna lie for? All we know is if something pops up like that, we have a process we have to go through. Oh my God. What we're doing right now. What? If anything happens to my brother, nothing's gonna happen. No. You can't tell me that. I can because they that. Put. I know these people. Really? No. No, they took my brother. Listen to me. That's my brother. My mother is a nurse, retired nurse, and she had to ask them, "What do you want to do? Kill my son?" Drugging him up for what? Living IM, which goes straight into your bloodstream. My God, that could have antipsychotic medication for what? And he's not crazy. And they're going to give this him, and they use the RCMP. They use the RCMP. Okay, but we're not going to give him anything. We need to contact. Yeah, to transport him out to Saskatchewan, because this is what Saskatchewan wanted to do. Just because he was, I'm telling you, because he was taking the SHA. But we don't. Oh my God, I know. You guys want us to calm down, but you know what the thing is? I am tired. I'm tired.
I know. I get you're frustrated. We don't know the backstory of this.
No, y'all don't. Look, me. They're in front of the courthouse. Yes. I've never heard this in my life.
Go inside.
The RCMP.
Yeah. Okay.
Took him.
I would let
and take him into mountain.
It's super cold out here. If we can all keep calm.
So this is a big problem. These guys are border service agents. They're trained in the torture convention. They know that once, and they have witnesses. People come and show up at the border and say I was tortured, and they can't send them over there. They know full well. Now you've got witnesses saying that they witnessed the torture, and that they can't do that. They can't do that. Second thing, that's in Canada. It's like a federal system does not have a provincial warrant. A warrant like that, resisting arrest in such a place like that, wouldn't even be in the entire province. Secondly, it was a false warrant. Third, I ended up coming through when I was deported, I went through customs. It wasn't there. So would it just magically appeared into a federal system like that? No. I asked for freedom of information requests for this. They haven't given it to me. And it's like, well, it's like 2.5 years later. I wonder why. Because I asked for the camera footage. I asked for like everything relating to that and the warrant and everything else like that. Still have not got anything to this day, right? Because they know that they did something wrong. You see, one of those Canadian agents came across to the Sweetgrass side after I was denied entry. And I'll actually play the clip of what the guy said to me when he denied entry, because I think a lot of people will get a kick out of that. Let me just find it here. He told me that I can't enter the United States to report treason because I'm not vaccinated. And let's get that up here. Just so that people can see this, so that they can sit down and see the vaccination program that Biden
I covered tons of protests, marches, and rallies on the Canadian border. We knew that they weren't letting people in because of the vaccination reason. But have you gotten any justice? Is there any lawyer that's helped you? Has anybody been
No,
prosecuted
no,
for
nope,
raping your daughter?
No,
nope.
the guy
Well,
even confessed to it, and they did not do anything. And as for the border, that guy taking to consideration, one of the police or one of the border agents told them, "Oh, I know these guys. They're not going to do anything." What do you mean you know these guys? How do you, a border agent, know the people who were doing this operation to us in North Battleford, Saskatchewan? Anyway,
Okay,
sorry, Dad,
so
you were
what
saying.
does your sister say if she works for the Canadian government? What are people telling you? What are officials
no,
telling you?
no.
How are you supposed to handle this?
Keisha worked for the
I worked for the
Canadian government.
provincial government in
Her
Saskatchewan.
her sister, my little daughter, is only 5 years old.
Yeah.
She's yeah, and so I mean, at the end of the day, nothing's happened. The people in the United States, they've done nothing. DHS has done nothing. Keisha's tried to had to call the police in courts to get them to file. Like I've even had to call police. Like here, when I went to go and file complaints, the RCMP threatened to arrest me. I could see them putting their gloves on when I went to go and file high treason and tell them that this was connected to the existing treason investigation that they had into the Winnipeg biolabs. And so they're trying to like arrest me for that. So I had to call the police on the police in the police station saying that the guy's intimidating me. And so we literally have like the brown church running around here in Canada.
And it
Like
doesn't
What
matter
what does
if
that
there's
mean
a
exactly?
vaccination, it doesn't matter if there's a vaccination schedule or prohibition. You can't prevent someone from coming into the country to report treason against the United States because of a vaccination. You're going to let your entire country die because of a vaccination status? That
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
even make
we're
sense.
watching that happen right now with the World Health Organization pandemic agreement. We're in trouble. So this is just another situation where it's completely shocking what's happening, and I'm wondering why there's no lawyer involved. Can you find a lawyer in Canada?
because everybody is too afraid because inside those documents there's a lot of judges in Canada and the United States implicated because treason, you don't have a right to sit down and say I'm going to ignore treason. Like it doesn't matter if you're a judge, you can't sit down and say, well, no, we're just going to ignore the treason because you lose your damn country. What are you, nuts? And like when you're a judge, I don't care what court you're in. It's called Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution of the United States. That's binding on every judge in every court. It doesn't matter if you're a judge or not. You're American. There's no branch of the government that's responsible. That means we, the people, are responsible for that. And anybody with any lick of sense knows that you don't ignore treason because if they're successful with the treason, guess what? You don't have a country. You're living in totalitarianism, and we're all China. Who wants that? Nobody. Certainly no
Yes.
lawyer. Nobody
That's what we're
took this.
finding. I mean, I know a lot of activists in Canada, and we're finding out that Canada is one of the most oppressive countries in the world now. I know Jody Ledgerwood, I know Chris Eriks. I mean, it's a long list. So I'm just wondering if there's a lawyer in Canada because I don't know Canadian law, but is there a lawyer that will help you in Canada?
I have yet to find one, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've done a lot of this stuff. I've actually had lawyers in the States and even lawyers in Canada look at the stuff. A lot of lawyers like will quietly say that they're very happy with what I'm doing. But they know if they ever went in a courtroom like that, they would get destroyed. Because I mean, I call out anybody. If you're a criminal, I don't care. Right? Like, I don't care if you're a judge. I've told judges, I've got videos on my ex where I told the judges, get off the bench. I said, you're a traitor. I'm not going to sit there and take anything from you. And because the documents that they have in front of me, and they're like, well, why don't they give you contempt? They should give you contempt. I'm like, if they gave me contempt, then those documents that are sitting in front of them have to go in as my defense. And then they'll be like, well, why are you giving this attempt for bringing you a delivery system for biological weapons and giving like outlining treason? The judge would get killed, right? Nobody would
Yeah.
tolerate that. So this is why they just sit there and take it because they're criminals. but somebody
Yeah.
needs to stand up and do something. This is why we're going to the elected officials, because we've demonstrated that on both sides of the border in Canada and United States, and for people talking about the WHO, we've got the WHO implicated in high treason in Canada and treason against the United States because we have them tied through Dr. John Conley at the Alberta Health Services. And this is why these petitions are important, that you go and ram them down the throat of the elected officials, because you own those houses. Even here in Canada, we were able to go in and get that petition and redress. And actually, we can go in and pressure our government. So can you, because you guys have it expressly written in your constitution, and make them put that to the floor. Because there is no option for a public servant to tell you that you cannot have your redress of grievances. That is your constitutional right. And when that grievance is treason, and the court system, the administration, the law enforcement, and all these other areas are involved in it, they have no choice but to deal with it. Because
Okay, I have a question. So are you giving me Canadian laws or are you giving me American laws?
Both of them. Canadian law,
You're mixing Canadian and American laws together?
Because the principle of comedy, because they had Canadians helping Americans commit treason in the United States, yet Americans helping Canadians commit treason in Canada, and they were working together. And so we get to mix and match the laws, and we get to use the best of both sides. And so that's really fair. That's the way it works. We have to respect the judicial decisions of other countries, right? We can't sit down and say, well, that's not expressly written here in Canada, so you can go ahead and take away the Republic from the United States. That's way off base. Releasing a biological weapon against another country, that's called an act of war. This is the reason why Putin is in the Ukraine, right? At the end of the day, the Americans, if you guys had control of your country, could walk in here and just say, we're shutting it down, and too bad. You don't like it, too bad, because you don't do that kind of filth to somebody, right? That's really it. That's the end of the story. So people.
Okay, so I have about 5 more minutes and to just put this into perspective. So what do you want done in Canada and what do you want done in the United States of America? We have 5 minutes.
I will say that we need to get people, okay, and if you're in Alberta, you need to get down to Alberta and you need to start supporting the people that want to come out and get this done. We had the UCP party whip come down and ask for the help of the people. So come out and start supporting. If you're in Michigan, Texas, or Colorado, then you need to start helping and getting things done. Keisha right now is in Colorado. They can use some help to get this thing put to the floor. And guys in Texas, you better start stepping up. Keisha, you can go out and talk about that too. About what you're doing.
Yeah, we gave the petition from the CARES project to Senator Mark Baisley at a couple weeks ago here in Colorado, and he said he would hear it on the floor. And we're, going to try and keep pushing to make sure that we hold their feet to the fire, and we're going to try and do it the same thing in a few other states as well. So if you're interested in doing that, then reach out to us and we'll try to get together and do that. We actually had an event and a bunch of people come. There was Maureen Steele and Ann Vander Steele, and we were able to share some stories of different people and live stream it so people could have an understanding of what's going on and see that the people are actually coming together and that they're not alone in, what they're seeing going on and what they're experiencing, and that we're actually taking tangible steps and actions going forward to make the difference that we need to see in the country and get our rights established as we the people. So
okay, so you're saying that what you served with Ann Vander Steele was actually the CARES?
It was it's the documents from the CARES project. Yes, it's
okay. Or was it the generation, the Maureen Steele's generation?
No, I constructed that document.
It's my father's documents. Yeah.
I wrote.
Okay, so what Ann Vander Steele served in Colorado, or what Maureen Steele served in Colorado, was actually a document that you created in Canada.
Yes, absolutely. The one that was served in Texas, I also did that. The one in Michigan, I also
Yeah.
took that. I took their evidence and I compiled it. I wrote the entire document. Like I put together the appendix. Yes, that was done
Yeah,
by
and I
me
made that
100%.
Yeah, and I made that clear to Senator Mark Baisley when I spoke to him when we were serving it on the live stream or whatever, that it was my father's documents.
And it's centered around the engineering report that exposes the treason at the first step of the pandemic response, which makes the entire pandemic response treason. And that means the entire election interference, everything that was done as a result of that COVID response is treason, terrorism, and a whole bunch of nasty laws. They're all dead in the water. And this is why their first response was just get rid of them, because it would have stopped everything dead in its tracks if they actually introduced it. And be based on the treaties, Canada was obligated to inform the Americans from the time they got in their hands, and they concealed it. So, you can thank for having Biden in for so long, burning your country down.
Well, how do people reach you if they want to help and do what you guys are doing?
Well, you can reach me at DJS Richardson on Twitter, Truth or Getter. I mean, you can go to www.dsrcaresconsulting.com. There's also the CARES Project. There's a page for the CARES Project and the action plan. So you can get the documents that you need to go ahead and start getting this out to your people. We're going to get the stuff updated for Colorado for the action plan, and Texas and Michigan. We've got one there from Alberta. If you want to go ahead and just adapt it for where you're at, you're more than welcome to. Just start getting it out, and there's contact information, so you can reach me there. Casey, you can give out your social media stuff for yourself as well.
Yeah,
Thank
you can
you
follow.
so much.
Yes, of course. You can follow the CARES Project on Twitter, as well as Rumble. That's where we stream as well. We also have Facebook. You can follow my personal account, which is Kaysha, KAYSHARIC, and get in contact with us there. Send us a DM or something, and we'll do our best to respond in a timely manner.
I'm so grateful for your story. This is never ending. It's just never ending in Canada. Just shocking. So,
And the United States, unfortunately.
yes, it's never ending. But in the United States, we have the Second Amendment, so we have the right to bear arms. So it's not going to end in the same way that it'll end in Canada. I mean, do you think that Trudeau will ever have another election?
No, he's not. This is going to get stopped. And in Canada, we don't. The one thing that we have in Canada, all we need to do is take control of one province. And in Alberta, we have a very good situation because we have no federal court system. It's all done within the provinces. So if you want to start investigations, all you need is control of one province, and you can put out Canada-wide warrants and yank them all here and start trying them. And so Alberta is a lot further ahead, and this is why we need support here in Alberta, because we want to start it because we're tired of having a dictator ruling over us, right?
Yes.
And
When is the next election supposed to be for Trudeau in Canada?
2025, but we won't last. If you guys don't get Trump in 2024, we're done. Like, I mean, if we don't stop what they're doing with this pandemic, we're all done. So we need to start acting now.
So Dale, what do you think is the next step? What are they going to throw at us to try to interfere with our election in 2024 in America?
Well, I mean, they're going to try the pandemic. They're going to try World War III. They're going to try anything. They're going to throw everything at us. Anything with the kitchen sink. They'll throw that too. They're desperate, right? So we need to expose them and we need to go at them. And we have the law on our side, and they're not ready to shoot us down in the streets. So let's go and expose them and get the guys that are wanting to do their jobs in law enforcement, all these other areas, the backing that they need to go out and start arresting these criminals, because they want to arrest them too, right? I had some RCMP that wanted to do their jobs, and they helped me. And there's a few hundred cops in Edmonton that they were being tortured so that they couldn't investigate, right? They were literally told that if they investigated these crimes, they're going to throw them in the mental institution. They segregated them from the other guys and put them through hell. Those guys want to arrest those guys just as much as we do. So we need to give them the backing that they need so they can start arresting those criminals, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope that you guys can figure out which direction to go in now, because this is getting really serious in Canada, and it is really serious in America. I agree with you, Dale. I'm not sure that Canada will ever see another election, and America definitely is coming into November 2024 with an election that will have so much election corruption. I don't know how we're going to get through it.
Well, I mean, that's why we need to start praying and we need to get back to God, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's too many cowards, and I'll put this a lot on the men, because most of the people I see doing this fight are women. And men, you need to find a spine, right? Gideon was a coward. He was hiding in the threshing floor. But you go to God, humble yourself. This whole problem started when men walked away from God. When they walked away from God, they became tyrannical in their homes. When they became tyrants in their home, so the pedophiles created feminism as an option for women to create this entire situation that we saw here now, because it created a division in the home, and eventually they got the mother and the father into the workforce. Guess who's watching your kid? The state. This is how they broke our societies down and put us in this position. The only way we're going to get back is men need to get back and do what God created them to do, lead their families and go in front and take the bullets. Because when they were storming the beaches on Normandy, I was talking to a guy and he was telling them they got a pork chop dinner with like mashed potatoes and everything else like that the day before. And they were like, what the hell was that? And then they got on the boats and they realized that a lot of them were throwing up their dinners, but they ended up all storming the beach, watching their guys getting gunned down, but it needed to get done. And this is what the men need to get up and do. You need to go back and be that way. And if you don't got the courage, you got to go to God, because he'll give you the courage. And that's really it. Time to go back to God, Ben. Lead your families, lead your churches, and lead your nation.
God bless you. Thank you. Have a beautiful evening. Thank you. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Dale. God bless you. Peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am going to conclude another episode of the America Happens News on the America Happens Network. This is a 5-hour show, so I do get a little wiped out, but the bottom line is that we are in trouble in America. We are in trouble in Canada. We're in trouble around the world. And it's time for freedom fighters to unite peacefully. Peacefully, of course. I'm in Washington, D.C., documenting the federal government overreach. Today was out of control in U.S. federal court with the January 6th political prisoner situation. Everyone needs to be really clear that if we do not get President Donald Trump back into the White House by January of 2025, we may lose Washington, D.C. I really do not see very many people in Congress getting anything done. We have 535 elected officials in Congress who we don't even know if they were fairly or unfairly elected. And we have election corruption in the United States of America that is out of control. There is a specific case that I'm watching because I watch over the federal court in Washington, D.C. There's a very specific case going on with Daniel Goodwin, where he is a J6 political prisoner. He served his time in jail, and now his judge, one of the most corrupt men I have ever seen as a judicial officer, his name is Judge Reggie Walton. Judge Reggie Walton wants to actually have the right to have the government keep track of everything that Daniel Goodwin has on his computer. So that's really serious. Wait, I just saw someone who's been on our show before, and I want to bring him back because maybe he's a piece of this puzzle as to how to get America back into, how do we save America? Tell us everything, Mr. Downing. Thank you for being so patient and coming in. I didn't know you were here. What's going on? Can you hear us? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Mr. Downing is serving very powerful elected officials. Can you hear us? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. We can't hear you. I'm not sure what to do. Let me try it again. I don't know if this is on our side or his side. Testing. Go for it. Okay, so leave and come back in. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
You got me there?
Oh, we can hear you now. Listen, I love Rumble, and I'll talk about that later, but on Rumble, we're not going to get censored. On CloudHub, we're not going to get censored. We may get censored on X, but I want to know exactly what you're doing. Let's go for it, because my last guest is from the CARES Project. When you serve the people, the elected officials that you're serving, what is the paperwork that you're serving?
So as an elected official, we all have a duty to care for those below us. I took an oath just like every other public official, and that oath for me is perpetual, and it's self-executing, and I have an obligation to fulfill it. So on November 19th, 1996, I took an oath that I would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Therefore, when I received even an honorable discharge, what's known as an RER1 discharge, which means that I am fully reinstatable, that the military can call me back at any point in time, then that means that oath remains, and it remains binding to me. And so the only thing that gives a judge the right to be able to be a judge is his oath, right? And so likewise, when we take an oath to the Constitution of the United States and to support our country and defend it, we need to honor that oath. But what you need to remember is that it doesn't say that there's going to be anybody there with you, right? It doesn't say that there's going to be reinforced. It doesn't. There's no guarantee that you'll even survive it if you choose to do the right thing, stand up for it. But you don't have a choice on standing up for it, right? And so, even though nobody supported me, even though I was all by myself, I still had an obligation to do it. And that's why I think that we're starting to change and curb some of the things that's going on here, is because I do honestly think that I think that people are starting to see that individually they all have to make a choice. Individually, they all have to decide which side of the law they want to be on, and so making the choice to fulfill your oath, be a man of your word, be a man of integrity. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some sacrifice, and it's not going to put you into a comfortable position. But it's a position that we all need to accept, and we all need to be willing to do. So for me, I knew that when this started, I knew that I didn't want to leave this for my son. I mean, what kind of father would I be if I knew the things I knew, saw the things I saw, and then I said, well, you know what, it'll cost me too much to take it. Think about what it'll cost me. No. Think about what it's going to cost him if I leave this for him. I may not win, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to take down as much of this as possible, because I'm not going to leave this for my son to have to deal with. So when I committed to doing this 9 years ago, and I kept my head down for 9 years. I built this whole case. I got us to this point without bringing my head up, because I needed to be very, very careful, because I knew the animal that I was dealing with here. And I knew how dangerous it was, because I'd worked with it for many, many years. But ultimately, one of the things that a point that I like to make is that I've had dinner with a couple governors and a couple senators and judges, all kinds, and every single one of them had told me that I'm doing the right thing, and that they believe in it, and that they'll support it privately, but they will not support it publicly. And the reason why is because, what I'm saying to do is so contrary to what our beliefs are. I mean, we've grown so accustomed to just imprisoning people, throwing them off, sending them away, and saying, you don't deserve love anymore. We've completely destroyed the greatest treasure that America has, and that was our ability to be able to fight alongside each other, love each other, care for each other, and through that love, we were able to bring about some pretty amazing things. But we've lost all that.
I
And
want to
so
know who you're serving and what you're serving. What are you serving and who are you serving?
we are serving the attorney generals of the states, because the state attorney general is the chief legal officer of the state. He's responsible for the enforcement element of the state governments. So when the enforcement branch is not enforcing the laws properly, then we need to bring it to the leadership's attention. Now, he may already be aware of it. I don't know. But what I do know is that when we bring notice to him and we deliver a criminal affidavit that down the specific crime. Are you serious?
So weird. Every time I try to interview you about who you're serving and what you're serving, all tech falls apart. So whatever you're doing is getting heavily attacked by whoever's in charge. But I mean, forget all the other sidebar stuff. Who are you serving and what are you serving? What paperwork are you actually serving and who are you serving it to?
Are you serious?
This is really funny.
I'm so tired of technology here.
This is Mr. Down. Yes. And every time I try to interview him about specifically who are you serving and what are you serving, he's serving state attorney generals and he is on the road serving them. I want to know, what are you serving and who are you serving?
Come on now.
That's the most important thing. Just go on and come back on. Just go on and come back on. This is so interesting. We have a gentleman going across America serving secretaries of state and district attorneys. I don't know, but the bottom line is that what is he serving and who is he serving? And I hope he can get back in because this is really important news. Once again, every time I try to interview him, all of the internet gets cut off and we lose service, which is so bizarre. I very rarely have a guest like this. No video feed. So interesting. Not sure what's going on. What do we do? How do we handle this? Let's try again. Can you hear us? Okay, so you have so we're going to have to do this again on Monday because once again, the tech is falling apart. But I just need to know, who are you serving and what are you actually serving them? What is the document you're serving them? What are you actually serving? Can you hear us? He's serving state attorney generals, and every time I try to get him on the show, the tech crashes and burns. Isn't that weird? It is so weird. Every time I try to get this man on the show, the tech crashes and burns. I don't have a producer for this show, so not really sure what to do. We are going to have a problem in the future with tech, and we have to be prepared for that. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Can you hear us? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Are you serious right now?
Testing, 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 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? This always happens.
I got nothing.
This is a gentleman.
I don't get it.
Tanawa.
I'm so tired of this.
So shocking. Every time I try to interview him about who he's serving and what he's serving,
This is so stupid.
tech just crashes, it falls apart. I find this to be very interesting, and that's why at the America Happens News, we do the highest level of the news, and we're going to have major problems. You can just tell.
Damn it, man.
We're about to have major problems with the internet. We'll try it one more time. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't work. So intriguing to me. When you have the highest level of the news, right now, my whole Instagram crashed on my main phone, which I find so interesting. I have never seen Instagram crash like this. We're in trouble that we are so dependent on the internet. My whole life is dependent on the internet. That's going to have to change. That's one thing that happened, especially during COVID, that they made us totally dependent on the internet. So the highest level news I can give to you right now is that it's time to not be dependent on the internet. We have really serious issues going on in America, and it's time to go back to farming. It's time to go back to the town that you live in the county that you live in, the town, the county, and that's what's going to matter. You need to secure a safe place to live with internet that works as best as you can get it, and you need to have your own water source and your own food supply, and pray that you are armed to the teeth to be able to withstand any attacks in case you're sitting on gold, in case you're sitting on alcohol, in case you're sitting on anything that people would want. We don't know how serious this is going to get in November 2024 with the election corruption. So I think it's time to actually build some type of a Harriet Tubman type of situation where people who are in danger have a safe place to retreat to, because America is not the country of the free anymore, but we better be the land of the brave. So once again, we have complete technical difficulties with this particular guest, and he is actually on the road right now serving district attorneys across America, and we're going to have to figure out on Monday, we will start this again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We go about 5 hours on the America Happens News. If you understand what's really going on in America, it is time to fund independent journalists 100% who are real. And at the America Happens Network, you can see the variety of our shows, and you can see how real we are. I've been in U.S. federal court. I've been filming the show for 5 hours. I'm exhausted, but I'm here to be of service to the goodness and to God. So I just pray that whatever you saw in this particular show, you guys all stand up for General Flynn. I have to say this. General Flynn is one of my favorite men alive on planet Earth. I like him so much that I won't even take $1 from any of the money that he makes from me promoting his books, his movie. Wherever General Flynn is, we are all meeting in Detroit, Michigan. Oh my, on June 6th, 2024 for the next Clay Clark show. Now, this may be the final Clay Clark show. I just don't even know. But the bottom line is that General Flynn's movie is one of the most touching movies you'll ever sit through. And it explores and documents the persecution of General Flynn by the U.S. federal government. You go to watchflynn.com. I stand with General Flynn. I pray that President Trump chooses him to be his vice president. Not sure if that could even happen, but everything General Flynn does, super love his son, General Flynn Jr. Please follow it. We're going to try one more time. Are you there?
I am.
Okay, good. So we have like maybe less than 10 minutes. I need to know exactly what your name is, who you're serving, and what you're serving. Just 3 things. What are you serving and who are you serving?
Why am I frozen up again?
Isn't this wild? We get attacked.
Are you serious?
Like, no, it's okay. Just talk. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
This is ridiculous. Like okay, guys. So you got to understand. You know, I need a new phone. I'm gonna have to make some changes. My name is Tana Downing, and I'm out here destroying what we thought was real. All right, because ever since our government has been in existence, it has been undermining the very principles that all of you believe in, that I believe in. They have been destroying our system of government in order to advance their interests. Okay.
So who are you serving and what are you serving?
I am bringing to the United States, to attorney generals, every single one of state attorney generals, notice that their agents are enforcing the laws in violation of the United States Constitution. If you do not follow the procedures and processes specifically enumerated and codified in the Constitution in your pursuance of an outcome, whether it's removal of a child from a family, whether it is locking a person up in prison, whether it is a guardianship, if you do not follow the procedures, then you have produced something that is unconstitutional. And everybody, what I have and what I'm delivering to these attorney generals, it destroys the entire system.
What do you have? What paperwork are you serving? Who wrote the paperwork? Where's the paperwork from?
So the paperwork is from witnesses that have lived through these particular events. So let me go ahead and say that a great example, and the easiest one is this. Clause 1 of Amendment 5 to the United States Constitution says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. That's clear. You must have an indictment by a grand jury before arresting someone and holding them over for an infamous crime. That's clear. Now, Article 1, Section 26 of Washington State's Constitution says no grand jury shall be drawn or summoned in any county. So Washington State's Constitution functions directly to the contrary of the United States Constitution, and now we have a supremacy issue. Now we need to deal with preemption and determine whose laws are supreme. However,
Okay, who wrote this paperwork that you're serving?
I did. I did.
Okay.
I did. But I'm going to get there.
Okay.
But you need to understand that Washington State has a provision in its Constitution that anybody can read right now and see that it is directly to the contrary of the United States Constitution. And now we understand that every single person in prison in the state of Washington is there illegally and unconstitutionally because the state didn't follow the procedures to put them there. It's not just Washington. There's 23 other states. So we've got half of our country, half the prisoners that we've locked up on direct facial constitutional violations because they did not receive an indictment by grand jury despite the fact it was required. That's a big deal, guys, right? Big deal. And the government doesn't like it. So the paperwork that I have is I'm simply getting the evidence from the witnesses because every single one of these people that have had a child taken from them or has been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime, they are all witnesses. This has happened to them. This felony has occurred. And so when a government official chooses to rely upon an inferior state law, such as the Washington State's Constitution, to deprive a person of a right guaranteed by the United States Constitution, they just committed a crime. Title 18, subsection 242, deprivation of rights in a common law. That's a felony. And it's a per se offense, meaning that you don't have to show that they intended to breach their obligation simply by virtue of the breach. All elements of crime have been met, and they've already implicitly invited punishment should they fail to fulfill the promise. So this is a very simple process. All I have to do is show that they had an obligation, constitutionally codified, and they didn't fulfill it. And in doing so, now you have guilt of the government official, which nullifies all of the judgments and actions of the people. So if government breaches the Constitution in order to secure an outcome, then that means that everything that they do must also be unconstitutional because you cannot have a constitutional outcome result from an unconstitutional act. So you cannot break the law in order to enforce the law. I'm not saying that anyone's innocent. I'm not saying they're even good. But what I'm saying is that if we're being led by criminals, then don't hold the people accountable for their crimes until you hold yourself accountable. I want these government officials to understand that just like I had to make the decision 9 years ago to stand up, do what's right, even if I'm in opposition, even if it's contrary to everything I stood for and built in my own life, I have to do that. Because
Okay, got it. I got it. But I'm saying the actual paperwork that you're serving, who wrote that? You wrote that?
I did. Yeah.
Okay,
I
and then how, after you serve the attorney generals and they ignore you and don't respond to you, how are you going to enforce this?
We'll get there. We'll get there. But I need to finish serving first.
How many have you served and how many do you have to serve?
I've served 18 and we're trying to get to the two-thirds mark. So we need to have 2/3 of the state, which is a constitutional requirement for a couple of things to happen. I'm trying to reach the 2/3, which is 33. So we started with Washington as the primary respondent. So I need an additional 32, and I believe we did 18 today. So we did Oklahoma City today and General Drummond. So we're serving his agents, any one of the assistant attorney generals, or even a state patrol officer. As long as it's an enforcement element, then notice to agent is notice to principal. Remember, I'm not serving the attorney general because I'm not saying the attorney general did something wrong. I'm serving the state through its agent. The attorney general is the agent. He's not the one. He didn't create the law. The state created the laws, right? So it's the state that we're bringing this accusation against, but we have to bring it against one of their agents, and we can do that with any one of their enforcement agents. So once we serve, right, we bring it to their attention. We're drawing the line in the sand. We're going to give them a very short period of time between now and June 6th to decide which side of the law they want to be on, and ultimately, when we get there on June 6th, then we'll have to make another decision. We'll have to decide, but. They're going to make the right decision, but they're not going to make the right decision until their leadership decides to make the right decision. So they're going to continue to do things unlawfully, right? They're going to continue to do it until their leadership steps up and says, we're going to do the right thing. So this is really not about the attorney generals. This is about the 9 justices in Washington, D.C. stepping up and saying, I am what I say I am. If that court is in fact the Supreme Court, and if it has the power to do things that it says that it can do, if it enforces the rights of the people and the Constitution of the United States, if that's what it is, then it's time for it to stand up and do its job. Because all of these lower courts are more powerful than the highest court. We have a complete flip and everything. These lowest courts here in the States are taking away rights that court cannot take away. So I'm going to that court and I'm saying, either you are what you say you are, or you can go home and you no longer have power. You no longer have supremacy. Because, yeah.
They're going to ignore you. Do you get it?
No. There's certain ways that we're dealing with that. You see, well, we won't go into it now. We don't have time for that. Okay. That would be another discussion. But okay. They love to ignore, and that's perfectly fine. But we're not gonna allow that, right? There's an obligation that exists, and when the obligation is created, we aren't aware of that obligation yet. Nobody has the right to bring their case to the Supreme Court because we all believe that court is a court of discretion. But if that's not true, if that's a lie that derives from an unconstitutional decision or law that was created by Congress, then we have to assert the obligation that's codified in the Constitution, and we have to create it. And once created, then we have the right to bring our case to the Supreme Court. I'm creating the obligation. I'm showing that there was an obligation of the Supreme Court. They must fulfill that obligation. If they don't, then you have a public wronging, which still establishes rights. That's how the rights are created. They're created through the establishment of the obligation, showing that there was an obligation and failed to fulfill it.
So the Supreme Court can just ignore you. The Supreme Court doesn't even have to take your case. They can ignore you. I've been covering election corruption.
But therein lies the point, is that they can't, because the obligation exists. When the law says that the Supreme Court has original jurisdiction, that's the law. That's an obligation. And so when they say that they're a court of discretion, and when Congress said that in 1925 in the Judicial Reform Act, they said, yeah, we're going to make the Supreme Court a court of discretion. Well, that would be modifying or altering the Constitution of the United States in a manner other than what's constitutional. Because you can't say that we're going to say that they're a court that can just pick and choose what they want to hear, even though the obligation of the Constitution says they have to hear it. In all cases in which a state
the Supreme Court of the United States of America has been picking and choosing whatever they want to hear. They don't hear all the cases. They pick and choose.
Okay. But you don't understand that there's an obligation that exists in the Constitution for them to hear it. The Constitution in Article 3 says, in all cases in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. That is an obligation that's created, assigning the Supreme Court the obligation to hear a case if a state is named a party. So when in 1925, the Congress of the United States made the court a court of discretion and said, well, now they get to pick and choose which cases they want to hear, that would be Congress deciding to alter the Constitution in a manner other than what's lawful. They don't get to change the obligation contract because we have to do it. And until we change it and we say, no, Supreme Court, you don't have the obligation, then all that they've been doing is unconstitutional. It's not valid. That's the point, is that we're in this place right now because we didn't understand the deceptive nature of our own government and the things that they were doing to keep us from being able to understand the true power that we have, the power of the law. I mean, we have the power. They're afraid of it. Much more afraid than we are.
How do people donate to you?
So we have Cash App, we have Venmo, Chime, PayPal. I've got 13 states left to go. So they're all the same. It's We Shall Be Free. That's WESHALLBEFREE. We shall be free. And we'll make it there one way or another. But you guys don't worry about the details of Capitol Hill. I got those guys under control, right?
Don't worry about the details of what?
Don't worry about the details of the court. I've got the court under control. Okay. Right? I've got and the obligations that exist. No, there's very specific ways that they don't have a choice. And we've got to make it clear that they don't have a choice anymore. Because when you go them and you ask them to do something, you give them a choice. When you go there with a certiorari, because you don't understand that the certiorari is not valid either, when you do that, you're giving them a choice. They're my servant. I'm going to tell them what to do when I'm ready to tell them what to do. I'll be there on June 6th, and we'll tell them what to do. They have an obligation to do it. It's created in law. And if they don't want to do it, that's fine. Those 9 justices can tell 330 million Americans that what they believe in is not real and they're not going to follow it. But I don't think that they got the balls to do that. I really don't. I really, really don't. Because I can show the obligation. Because it's in the Constitution. There's nothing they can do to change it. And Congress, when it made the decision to make the Supreme Court a court of discretion in 1925 with the Judicial Reform Act, that's not valid. Because even acts of Congress must comply with the Constitution. If they don't, they are without force or effect.
Okay, well, I want you to come back when you are in perfect internet and perfect lighting, because once again, it's frozen. It doesn't work. And
I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
every time I try to interview you, everything falls apart. But I totally
everything's
understand,
falling apart,
and I
with
appreciate
everything.
you.
That's why I'm
please
just
come
going
back,
out. Yeah,
and we will keep track. And if you have something really serious happen, contact me, and I will expose the truth 24/7. I just want to see how this goes down with what you're doing, because you can serve them all you want, but they're going to ignore you. They ignore everything in the Supreme Court that's relevant.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it under control. So we'll see. I just got to finish up the service.
Save
Go from there. Thank
America,
you.
Mr. Downing. Save America. We're watching you.
All right.
Okay. God
All right.
bless you. Peace. Thank you. Yes, that is Mr. Downing. He has become one of my very favorite people because he's just so interesting. But in the end, the Supreme Court of the United States of America has ignored very serious litigation that Mike Lindell and others have brought to the Supreme Court about election corruption. What I've really noticed and what I've really been reporting on in U.S. Congress, and I took my time, I waited a couple years just to see how everything was panning out, but I have never met a congressperson in Senate and or in the House who has ever done even one hearing to discuss the very serious issue of election corruption in the United States of America. So I'm putting y'all on high alert. That is some of the most high-level news. If election corruption is real, and I promise you it's real because I interview American patriots across America about this specific topic, why, if there is so much election corruption, why is it that there is not one person in the Senate, there's not even one member of the House of Representatives that is holding any hearing on the topic of election corruption? I'm going to leave you with that thought. I want you to have an incredible experience wherever you are in the world. I'm preparing to go to the President Donald Trump is speaking in Washington, D.C. tomorrow at the National Libertarian Convention. So I shall see all y'all on Monday night. I'm looking pretty yellow today. Sorry about that. I'm in weird lighting, but the bottom line is that you have to follow everything that I do because the satellite phone is becoming the key to our world. Sat123.com. This phone is key. When everything falls apart, you need to have a satellite phone. For everyone you care about, maybe 7 to 10% of the world is even covered by cell phone towers. But the satellite phone works no matter what you do, no matter where you are. So important. I love the antenna. The antenna that it comes with is phenomenal. And then they give you tons of accessories when you buy the phone. So you can use this in your car, in your RV, at any of the places that you camp at, in your house, anywhere you are, you need to get the sat phone, especially if you travel internationally. This is the only phone that will work on boats, on ships, in remote locations. You need to go to Sat123 right now and purchase the satellite phone. Sat123.com. This is the key to everything. Sat123.com. Wherever you are in the world, the satellite phone works. Sat123.com. So important. I'm going to say it one more time. Sat123.com. This phone works wherever you travel in the world. Once again, Sat123. Sat123. It's so easy to remember. Sat123. Sat123. Anyway, I'm getting delirious. I've almost done a 6-hour show. Thank you so much. May the goodness bless your life. God bless you. Peace. Please donate to the America Happens Network. And if you want to donate to me and if you want to contact me direct, I have a 24/7 line open to all y'all. 917-287-1314. 917-287-1314. I'm going to end this episode of the America Happens News on the America Happens channel. May the goodness bless your life. God bless you. Peace. Divine providence is what they said in 1776. They said, divine providence to all y'all out there.